I'm going to talk about what I call my award-winning, coast-to-coast, internationally acclaimed mental disorder. The ADHD is a little different from many other things that involve the brain in that generally you come wired this way. You come into the world this way. It's height is about 80% heritable. Tall parents, tall kids. My wife's the exception in her family. She's 5'4". Everybody else is 5'10" or up. ADHD is 79% heritable. When I found out what it was and what it looked like, I went, oh yeah, my dad, and oh yeah, my grandfather was actually on the stage in the British music halls way back when, and so on and so on and so on. So this is a little different in that it's not suddenly coming along. You know, with Andy's Parkinson's, it wasn't like that for a long time. Whereas with ADHD, you tend to come into the world this way, and it can be caused by other things, fetal alcohol syndrome, head injury. There's actually a lot of research now about people who reach a certain age and they have a head injury in sports or something, and they have the symptoms of. But the kind that most people have is just, this is you've come into the world this way. Let me see if I get this to work. So I'm going to talk about my story, and this sort of captures what people think ADHD is, which is kind of this crazy excitement. Some people have called it a gift. Some people have said if it's a gift, it's really hard to unwrap it. I don't know. Stevie Wonder might say being blind was a gift. I would say he used his other gifts, and maybe being blind helped. I don't know. Couple of things. I'm going to use statistics tonight like I just did. I'm not going to reference them because I've forgotten the references. These are the statistics that I've read again and again from the top experts. Since I got diagnosed in 2001 or so, I've had the pleasure to interview about 75 to 80 of the top experts in the world. There's still a few more to talk to, but the same numbers, the same statistics, the same good studies get quoted again and again. I'm also going to use ADHD and ADD interchangeably. What's the difference? H is the difference. Hyperactivity, which also includes, well, as an adult, it's restless. You may not be bouncing around like you were in the classroom when you're sitting in the boardroom, but boy, you'd like to be. When I was a teacher at the Ontario Science Centre, before I got into comedy, the staff meeting every week, nightmare for me. So there's restlessness, there's impatience, and so on. As adults, we can get away with it because we start our own business or whatever, or we're in show business, so well, he's a character, whatever. That's the difference. So as was mentioned at the beginning, I have had a very full career, and that part of it is kind of over now because this is just way more interesting. But yeah, 700 episodes of radio, television with the Frantics, the shows that I created, other series and so on. Great fun. Hugely respected. We won awards and acclamation, positive reviews. A couple of the newspapers said that History Bites, the series I did, was the funniest or cleverest Canadian comedy of all time. Nobody saw it because it was on History Television. So I was, by any stretch of the imagination, I was fairly successful. Let's see if I can get this. Did I shut it off? Oh, I did, yeah, excellent. So successful, awards and so on, but I didn't feel successful. Common theme amongst people with ADHD is I'm underachieving. Because I know I've produced another award-winning or hilarious show that even makes me laugh, and I can't find my damn keys. And I've got a crew of people waiting, and it's $2,000 an hour to have these people standing around waiting while I tear apart the house again, trying to find my keys, and they turn out to be downstairs on the dryer. I had them in my hand 5 minutes ago, and so on and so on. So I did not feel successful. And so there was this feeling of frustration ongoing. I ended up in depression a couple of times, very common. In fact, 70% of people with ADHD have what's called a comorbidity, something else going on. So depression, very common. Anxiety. When you got $2,000 an hour going out the window and you can't find your keys, or you're not sure you're going to find them today, even though you had them in your hand, it can lead to some anxiety. Anyway, the cost is amazing. for ADHD. It is the #1 issue, mental health issue for children. It's estimated, I'd say conservatively, 7%. I know everyone says, oh, it's overdiagnosed. And in some kids, in some areas, and so on, it probably is. Amongst adults, if you look at the percentage on one of the biggest studies ever done, 4.4% of adults qualify as ADHD. In other words, it is a disorder. It is impacting them. It is causing them to suffer 2 to 4 times the rate of bankruptcy, of STDs, of unplanned pregnancies, of 7 times the rate of multiple car accidents. Your teenager has ADHD? We don't want him labeled. He'll be labeled bad driver if you're lucky. You want to know. That's the thing about this, and that's why my other career kind of wrapped up nicely, because when you find out what's going on, there are certain disorders you take the medication. With ADHD, there is so much more that can be done. So around the year 2000, my marriage ended, became one of the statistics, I think it's 2.5 times the rate of divorce. At the same time, one of my children, gifted, suddenly is failing every course, gets into grade 7, is failing everything. They call from the school, I'm in a panic. They do some testing. They say, yes, he's very bright, and yes, we think he has ADHD. Let me see that. Now and then I'm a responsible parent. I read the list and I go, this is normal. It is, it's my normal. That's why people with ADHD don't think they have ADHD. With kids, it's probably slightly overdiagnosed in some areas. With adults, 1 in 6 adults who have ADHD are aware of it. 85% don't know yet, and they're struggling. And every time I see some story from Hollywood, and you just read, my God, what was she thinking? She wasn't. She has ADHD. There are certain businesses where it runs rampant. So I find out this is a challenge, or this is not normal, this is not everybody's, and I get tested. I'm sitting there with a psychologist who himself has ADHD, and we're going through the list. I didn't know he had for probably 3 or 4 sessions, and then he finally mentioned it. Makes careless mistakes, often loses things. Yeah, that one I know. Okay, yeah, but everybody does. Doesn't seem to listen. Well, that's what my first wife tells me. That's what my second wife hints at sometimes. Impatient, trouble waiting their turn. Not really. I mean, unless, I'm at a lineup and there's like 2 people at the ATM and or in traffic or any line. Okay, maybe I have that one too. Oops, I did again. Often interrupts others or I guess, but I have such interesting things to say. I know a ton of stuff. That's another ADHD. We're jack of all trades. We know a whole bunch about everything, not a lot of depth necessarily, but we know a lot of stuff. Blurts out answers before the question's done. Well, people talk so slowly. They say, I know. Doesn't follow instructions. I'm not a rebel particularly. I mean, yeah, sure, if we get something from IKEA, I glance at the picture and then I just start building, and then by the 3rd time I'm trying to put it together again, I am actually getting the instructions out. But okay, maybe that one's true too. Has lots on the go. Okay, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Fails to finish. Oh, yeah. That's the problem with having lots on the go. Tons started, nothing finished. My husband, he's got these aqua lung tanks. He's got this. He started that. He's building a boat in the garage he never finished. Or my wife started 27 different crafts and hobbies and whatever it is. Lots started, nothing finished, because that's follow-through. Difficulty keeping attention on tasks. Well, if I'm interested, ooh, that's a sign. What? That's a sign. When you're interested, yeah, because when you're interested, boom, you get a big amount of norepinephrine, you get some dopamine, you're interested, you can focus. Sometimes. It's not under your control necessarily. So yeah, I can focus. I can write in one day 5-10 scripts for the Frantics or for History Bites. Or I could get hyper-focused on sorting the paper clips and getting my office clean because I'm finally going to, and then what's the office, and so on. So yeah, you can hyper-focus, but it's not under your control. So as we're going through all this, I'm starting to get a little nervous. Obviously, oops, back up. So yeah, avoids paperwork, financial problems, huge, huge. One doctor said paperwork is like kryptonite to a person with ADHD. Isn't that great? you got paperwork. You want to go to the Bloor Cinema and get up in front of 700 people? Sure. Inconsistent parenting. I'm a great parent. My kids think I'm hilarious. What? Okay. Symptoms present in childhood. How would I know? Oh, okay. It's not that you forget. If you don't have the dopamine to allow the signal to get across that little gap, that if you don't have the chemical, the electric signal comes in, it goes across, and then the dopamine's taken back up again, and it's never that you forget. You just never made the memory in the first place. Last night we were watching episodes of Adventures with Bill, the thing I did on Red Green. My son was over. I am killing myself laughing. I have no memory of these things. I was sitting there watching, like, they were hilarious. I got alarmed at one point. And then my wife, who's the editor and was the editor for every episode of Red Green except one, said, yeah, I don't remember that one either. So I felt a little better. Poor at self-assessment. See, that's a problem. People who are poor at self-assessment think, hey, I'm great at self-assessment. Because asking, are you good at self-assessment, is self-assessment. And we're terrible at that. Feelings are often procrastinates. Feelings of underachieving. At this point, this is my life story. Overly emotional, overreacts. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess. Yes, I do. At ADHD conferences, we have a pacing lane at the back of the room. Get up and move. And moods pass quickly. So when I got it, I was, oh my God, it's the end of the world. And then 10 minutes later, I was, okay, well, what do I do about it? So getting this diagnosis for me was an explanation. It was a relief to find out that this is what it is. It's way better to discover you're short of certain neurochemicals than to find out you're a bad father, a bad husband, a lazy person, or that you lack willpower. Because what do you do about a lack of gumption? There's a great book about ADHD. You mean I'm not lazy, stupid, or crazy? And that was said by an 8-year-old when the teacher, through tears, when the teacher said, I think you have ADHD. You mean I'm not lazy, stupid, or crazy? Because that's how you feel. We know we're weird, now we know why. So a lot of people have a terrible fear of getting the diagnosis. I was relieved. I was so thrilled. And I just realized I probably shut the timer. Yeah, I did. I shut the sound off. Good. Now I'll actually make a noise. So as I said, the statistics, untreated, undiagnosed and untreated, 7 times the rate of multiple car accidents where you're at fault. Diagnosed and treated, everything changes. Now, unlike many disorders, while medication is hugely helpful and can be for many people, there's also just the knowing and just adjusting, or as we say on our website, you bend the world to you. When I found out, I had all these screenplay ideas on a computer, and I went, yeah, am I going to sit for 6 months working on a screenplay on the 1 in 5,000 chance it'll get turned into a movie and not open up against the same week as the next Star Wars movie? And no one will see it. No, I'm going to write more skit comedy. Before that, I went, you've never lived up to your, you've never really written a screenplay. You've never blah, 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 blah. Now it's like, yeah, I don't do that. I do this. I'll go create the cleverest comedy in Canada. I didn't say it. I'm agreeing with them. So you want to know. Now we understand what's going on. My son and I, we go to the go-kart track, we beat everyone because we get into hyperfocus. But getting to the go-kart track, my wife should drive us because it's boring. And there's that, oh, look at that. Whoa, whoa, sorry, yep, no, I'm good. So now we know. We don't go, oops, wow. Are we there already? Oh, I got 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go very quickly. So now we know there are certain things. We don't go to sports bars because those TVs, I'm never going to look away. I'm never going to look back. You'll lose me for the evening. So what happened is I discovered that this is about, and this is the buzzword lately, is executive functioning. These are the skill sets that executives have, and we're not necessarily that good with that. So I have 1,000 ideas. That's good. But now which one do we pursue? And I try and pursue all of them. That's why My wife's an editor. The other thing that happens is we have comorbidities. ADHD rarely travels alone. So 70% of people with ADHD as adults have something else going on. Tourette's, I've spoken twice now to the Tourette Foundation, and the second year I was back, 2 women, both came up, one after another, in their early 40s, said, I heard you last year, I've been on depression medication for a decade. I said, I think that's me. I went to my doctor, long story short. It's a year later, I'm on ADHD medication, my house is clean, I'm back in school, I'm doing my hobby, I'm volunteering for the PTA, the kids are not ashamed to bring their kids over to the house, I'm patient with my husband, on it went, and they burst into tears, and I burst into tears. With women, it's misdiagnosed as depression because it is depressing, and because women have so much more of the, not necessarily paperwork, but the routine stuff to handle. If a woman doesn't do that, that's not good. Guy, well, he's a guy, what do you expect? A woman doesn't do it, big problem, depression. So along comes medication. Now, here's the thing. I don't drink. I'm a teetotaler for life. I've had 3 beers up until the point I actually tried medication. I've never taken anything illegal. I've never even puffed on a cigarette, let alone something illegal. I'm the biggest wiener in the world. So when the doctor says, what do you consider medication? What do you know about it? I said, I know, like everyone else, it's a vast pharmaceutical conspiracy to turn our children into zombies and prevent them from being creative. By the way, the kids who are on medication often are not, they may be creative, they have no friends. Nobody comes to their birthday party. They are not invited to the sleepovers. This is hugely impairing because some children actually enjoy school and enjoy listening. Oh, the teacher just said, no, the other kids too. Nobody likes them. One mother said when she tried medication finally, she said, on the way home, I gave it to him in the car, and suddenly we could talk. In about 20 minutes, he talked, and he was able to hug me and have a conversation. He's 6 years old, and I've never been able to hug him. How do you behave or talk or carry on a conversation when there's 9 radio stations going at once in your head and somebody's poking you and you're thinking of some neat ideas for a screenplay, whatever? Well, it'll make me less who I am. How can I be myself with this lack of focus? Sometimes it's great, don't get me wrong. And I use medication like a lot of people do, a lot of adults, like an inhaler. When I need it, on those days, I take it. By the way, the addiction thing, so that was my thing. I was back to the medication. I was so worried about medication. I don't want to get addicted. I kind of knew I had an addictive personality, and that's very common with ADHD. Here's the thing about that. How many people here drink coffee every day? 2 or 3 cups? So you take a stimulant every day to help you focus. And if you don't take, how many people smoke? Some still do, right? Nicotine. You take a stimulant to help you focus. It's unregulated. You don't know what the dosage is, but you're taking it. And you're also getting all the side effects. I won't even go into smoking, but the caffeine and the chest pain, too much and so on. So when people get caffeine or a stimulant that helps, go to Starbucks. Is everybody bouncing off the walls? And they're sitting there able to read. So my doctor explained, I don't want to lose my creativity. I work with a lot of people in show business. None of them have ever reported that they lose their creativity. And then 4 years ago, a study at the University of Memphis showed we actually do score higher on average for creativity. 11 different standard tests, we score higher on all of them, or the 30 ADHD kids did compared to the 30 who didn't have ADHD, and the 15 of those 30 who were on medication were just as creative as the kids who weren't. So it doesn't necessarily impact creativity at all. It just allows you to continue doing what you're doing. So when I took medication, for me, I was already self-medicating. There's a lot of things people use, drugs, sex, shopping, even exercise, anything to get the adrenaline go. A risky lifestyle. Go to a police station or a fire station or the ER department of a hospital and ask how many of them are taking something for their ADHD. The army as well. So rather than turn into a zombie, as I was afraid it would, what actually happened for me, I'm ashamed to say, was that I was able to get a year's worth of GST done in one day. Something I had not been able to do I sat down and I said, because after 3 days of taking these pills, I didn't feel any different. So I said, what can I challenge? And there was that big pile of brown envelopes, all from the Sudbury or the inappropriately named Sunnyside PEI, and I got them, and I attacked it, and I got them done. At 4:30, I went, I have done a year's worth. And then I went, oh my God, I'm an accountant, I'm not funny, and I wrote some stuff, and it was still funny. But here's the limit of medication. Did I create a place for receipts? Did I create files? No. So a year later, I'm behind in my GST again. The medication levels the playing field, just like caffeine helps you to focus for what? 4 hours. They have longer acting medications that release it slowly, but basically it wears out. What you have is somewhere between 4 to 8 hours where you can really focus and get stuff done. But if you don't put the structures in place, a year later you're back where you started from. So the medication, the danger is that it actually works too well. Oh, I got a year's worth of GST done, I'm fine, I'll just keep taking this stuff. So the final thing I'll close with here is just to say, I want to get the idea that this is a spectrum disorder. People said, isn't everybody ADHD? Doesn't everybody have it these days? Yeah. You know what else everybody has? Height. Intelligence. Weight. How much height do you have? Well, if it's height, there's some people who are 4 feet, not very many. Most of us are 5'4", 6, 7, 8. Somewhere out here, there's a few people who are 7 feet tall. If you look at the top 4% in terms of height, that's 6'5" and up. Now, you and I can argue whether 6'3" is tall or 6'2". Let's agree 6'7" is tall. Even someone who's 6'7" is going to say, yeah, I'm tall. So that's who we're talking about, this top 4.4% in terms of distractibility, in terms of uneven attention, and everybody has different symptoms, and nobody's the same, and certain people have certain jobs where, hey, mine works great. So that's who we're dealing with. Everybody has it. But at some point, well, I lose my keys, yeah, 5 times a day. Well, no, exactly. So that's what we're dealing with here is, well, he should focus more, as I said in the video at the beginning. And so the biggest problem with ADHD is people either dismiss it as a real diagnosis, because certain groups back in the 70s attacked it as, well, we're trying to get a war going on psychology and psychiatry, so we'll take the easy subject, children being given medication. And it isn't drugs, it's medication is the term. If someone said, I take a dopamine booster, you think, wow, healthy, good for you. Anyway, that is, now, and by the way, I don't want you to take medication. I don't want anyone to have to take medication. But if it makes the difference between success and failure, if it allows you to actually be able to sit and do the exercise you need to do and do the mindful meditation, which is showing to be so helpful, all of the other things that you start putting in place, if you can do those. And one of the 2 authors of You Mean I'm Not Lazy, Stupid, or Crazy, Kate Kelly told us in the interview, she said, I would not have been able to access all the other things that have helped me to handle my ADHD completely if I hadn't started with some medication. So that is the potential. The challenge is people are still afraid and people don't know the facts. And so, as I said at the beginning, I've fallen into this lovely place of making videos. We have a website, totallyADD.com, and we've been able to we got it on television, Patrick McKenna and I. We made this documentary. His wife Janice was in it, and it was terrific. We had all of these top experts, and it's just been, since we started doing this, absolutely incredible. We're working out of a little house out in Waterdown, and we're able to impact people all over the world. So what's been neat is that now the website, we had the feedback, and I told you, or you heard in the video at the beginning, the feedback every day an email arrives. Thank you, you just saved my marriage. Thank you, my child is beginning to dream of the life they could have. Took me 4 hours, I PVR'd your show, and it took me 4 hours to watch it. I had to keep stopping because I couldn't hear what you were saying over my own crying. And I was crying with laughter, and I was crying with tears. Thank you, thank you. Every day. That's the potential. Whether you take medication, whether you do anything, just knowing I'm not lazy, stupid, or crazy. And one of the things Andy said is connecting with people. We've been through all of the programs. We built the website. It's the Epcot Center of ADHD websites, the amount of stuff that's on there, and all of the experts and all the TV appearances, and on and on and on it goes. So it's been very exciting. I co-authored a book with one of the top doctors in Ontario, and all kinds of stuff is available, and it's what we've done with it is I'm a comedian, and I know people laugh. People will watch something if they can laugh, because I would. And so we've tried to make stuff that is really deals with ADHD, not in a dismissive way, but in, you know, what was the quote about you've got to be able to let go of dignity, or, you know, that's it. It's like it's all, who here hasn't done something embarrassing, right? We've all done it. When you get up and just say, this is me, gives everybody permission. So that's what we're on, my wife and I, and all of these experts who've been working with us. And we're actually hoping to be able to make it sustainable, make a living. We had to actually sell my wife's car, and then we sold our house to keep it going. But the good news is it's starting to turn around, and we're actually able to sustain it. So we might even own a house again someday. Anyway, that's my wife. She handles all the paperwork. So that was kind of a sample of what it's like in an ADHD brain. Thank you for listening. And I think we're going to go now to some questions and answers with Andre. Thank you.